Hey everyone, it's Ryan, and today we're going to take a look at the PDP Cloud Remote for PlayStation 4. Now, PDP claims this remote can control your PS4 and your TV at the same time, thus removing the need for your DualShock 4 and your regular TV remote when you just want to use your PS4 for streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, PlayStation View, things like that. Because that's really kind of the best case use scenario for this remote, and right now I'm going to tell you how well it does that. So I've been using the remote for about a week now, and for the most part I really enjoy it. Now, going right into the unboxing, it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to get the remote and a small instruction booklet that'll help you pair and unpair the device. We'll talk more about that in a second. Right now I want to focus on the fact that if you're going to get this remote, it does require 2 AAA batteries, which is unfortunate, or at the very least it's annoying because, like most electronics, this does not come with the batteries, so keep in mind if you do plan on picking up this remote, keep 2 AAA batteries on hand and ready to go. And actually, while we're talking about batteries, we can also discuss the fact that some people dislike the disposable batteries. They prefer a lithium-ion battery that they can just constantly recharge, and I understand that viewpoint. I think this is more of a pros and cons thing here. I think many PS4 fans are familiar with the fact that the DualShock 4, for example, needs to be recharged pretty frequently because Sony put a dinky small lithium-ion battery in there, so yeah, you can recharge it, but sometimes it gets a little annoying. But at least with disposable batteries, usually with most cases, especially because the remote's a low-power device, it will be a while before you have to worry about replacing those batteries. So yeah, they're disposable, but you're getting a much significant amount of time compared to, say, a lithium-ion battery. So in this case, I think that's more of a benefit to go with 2 AAA batteries, but that's just my opinion. Now, going back to pairing the device, this is pretty simple. It's very straightforward. It's just like any Bluetooth device. You're going to the PS4 settings, you're going to pair a new device. At least for this remote in particular, you're holding the PlayStation button and share button at the same time until the red indicator flashes. It'll connect immediately, and then you'll be able to use the remote immediately with your PS4. Now, the key here to get TV functionality is to go to the PlayStation Store and download the PDP Cloud Remote app, and that's actually why they call it the Cloud Remote, because this application is pulling the information off the internet to connect to your particular brand of TV and making it work almost immediately, whereas sometimes with universal remotes, you have to thumb through the manual and find your brand of TV, and then you have to press your remote in a particular way to get it to sync properly. Well, there's none of that here. This application is making it as seamless as possible. So you're just updating the remote, and then it will ask you to test various functions to make sure that that remote is controlling your TV, which for me, it worked immediately. So what this remote can do is power your TV on and off, volume up and down, and changing the inputs. And unfortunately, that's the extent of it. Now, if you remember a few weeks ago, we had talked on Let's Talk PlayStation. I was curious as to if this remote was going to control the menus of TVs, because modern TVs nowadays are a bit more sophisticated. They have a user interface where you can thumb through on some menus, change the brightness or settings of your TV, and no, the remote cannot do that. It can only do power, volume, and input, which may be seen as a negative, but how often are you really changing the settings of your TV? Now, for me personally, I'm not. I set my TV the one way when I bought it, and that's the way I like it. And so I haven't had to really go into the menus at all. So the remote for the past week, actually, this remote has replaced my DualShock 4 and my regular TV remote. I've never had to use my TV remote. Actually, the one time I had to was when my soundbar powered off because it went into standby mode because I had the PS4, there was no noise coming out, so my soundbar turned off manually. And then since the PDP remote cannot go through my TV settings, I had to use my regular TV remote to turn my soundbar back on. But that's another plus too, is that if you do have a connected soundbar, that will work as well. So you're doing volume up down for the soundbar and not the TV. As long as the TV understands that sound is coming out of the soundbar, the PDP remote will do that as well. Now, in terms of the physical remote, it seems fine for the most part. It fits well in the hand. The buttons are a nice rubber texture. It feels fine. The buttons have a nice clicky response to them. If I'm nitpicking here, I've actually noticed on a number of occasions, I've wanted to go in the middle to press the PlayStation button, but that's actually where volume is. The PS button's located at the very top, and I think that's just muscle memory because I'm naturally used to the PlayStation button being in the center of a DualShock 4, so I almost kind of expect it here, despite the fact that this is it feels different in the hand because it's a remote, it's not a controller, right? But I just feel like the PS button should be in the middle, but again, I think that's nitpicking. Over time, I'm probably going to get used to that and just always naturally go for the top to hit the PlayStation button, because you might be using that a lot when you're trying to switch applications from, say, PS View to Netflix or Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever it is that you're watching. Now, the two big negatives I've noticed is that it seems like there's actually a noticeable input lag, and not that you need to care about an input lag, because this is a remote, you're just going through menus, you're never going to play a video game with this, but it's just one of those things where you totally notice it. There's like maybe a half a second sometimes of latency to when you hit something on the remote and then when it shows on screen. And this is throughout the whole time, because actually this remote will go into a low power mode when you're not using it, and you'll notice that when you pick it up again to use it, there's maybe a second or a 2-second delay. Well, that's actually the remote just powering back on. So my complaint's not that seems fine. When you're just using it normally and you know the remote's turned on, it seems like there's a very small half a second delay from input to action taken on the TV. And I don't know, it's not a negative, but it's just something you notice, right? And then my other negative is actually, and this is for my TV specifically, but when I hit input, if I change inputs with this remote, I have to go to my TV remote, because the way that my TV works is that my input will not exit by itself. For some reason, if I use input on the PDP remote and change inputs, the input menu will not drop away, which forces me to go back to my regular remote and dismiss it that way. And now this largely depends on different TVs, of course. So I think this may be a non-issue for other TVs that dismiss those menus, or if you're the kind of person that hates how long a menu lingers until it dismisses itself. I think that's a very human thing, where a lot of us with our remotes, we dismiss all the menus as quickly as possible. I don't know many people that use the remotes in a way where they hit something, and then let's say a menu comes up and you don't immediately dismiss it manually. Most people do that, and so if that's a situation where you might be bothered by that, you might want to keep that into consideration. The ideal scenario for this remote is that you don't have to use your DualShock 4 or your TV remote. That's what I'm hoping to get out of the PDP remote, and so for the past week, it has largely accomplished that. If my soundbar goes out, I have to grab my TV remote. If I have to change inputs, I have to grab my TV remote. It's unfortunate, but at the very least, it's a thing where I can actually keep my TV remote in a drawer and not out on the table anymore, taking up space and getting in the way. I know that seems like such a first world problem, but hey, that's what this thing's trying to accomplish, and I think for the most part it does it. My experience has been positive, and I can confidently say that yours is probably going to be positive as well. Although, realistically, the final say is dictated by your TV and how well it works with this remote. And that's it. That's all I've got for you in this video. So if you haven't already, subscribe for the best PlayStation news, reviews, and updates here on YouTube. And I will see you all in my next video. Thank you all for watching, and you take it easy.